Welcome to the summary of the training for getting on the same page, aligning departments with council priorities. I'm Charles Dayton, the president of TribalStrategy. For the past 20 years, we've been working with tribal leaders to help them clarify, improve the quality of their strategic planning, and at the same time ensuring that there's a smooth handoff with the departments and programs responsible for implementing those plans. We've developed just a simple roadmap for some of the essential elements and tools associated with this process. So, generally, the starting point is ensuring that the council understands their roles and responsibilities, that they review maybe a long term comprehensive plan, and they're engaged in some strategic thinking activities. Some of the tools include community assessment, a SWOT analysis, and the TOS framework that we'll reference later. The council then establishes a 2 to 4 year vision and translates that into specific strategic priorities. So we're really looking for clarity about what that future state looks like, and it makes it easier for those responsible for implementing to, again, translate that into their goals, their projects and action plans. The departments also need to align budgets with goals and projects and then have some kind of consistent accountability process, such as quarterly plan reviews, to ensure that the projects are moving forward, that the goals, where they're measurable, that the key outputs and outcomes are aligned with the needs of the community. So back to some of the assessments. And one assessment we do is around council roles and responsibilities. So if you're a council member, you think of how you would answer some of these questions. That the board understands the need of the tribe and its members, that the board ensures that the programs are designed to meet these needs, the board communicates effectively with the community, the board wisely allocates resources to provide needed service, and so forth. So the council will collectively do a self-assessment, and that generates some really healthy conversations about any gap areas. The intent is to go from 1 to 6 necessarily. It's just to identify some areas that need to be improved, maybe some weak areas, and say, how do we begin the process of making those strengths as a team. Another example of an assessment is a community assessment. In this case, we were looking specifically at communication from the tribe. And so the question is, do you feel that you receive important tribal information in a timely manner? Strongly disagrees 1, strongly agree 6. You can see this is really a weakness of the tribe as identified by the tribal members. And so what kind of communication strategy are they going to engage in to address that gap? And specifically, understanding how the tribal members want to receive information, what specific things can be done to enhance, in this case, social media presence. Emails was identified as a major one, posters and flyers and so forth. But they're using data to drive to develop these communication strategies through the use of a good community assessment. This is just a sample or a piece of what that might look like. The other thing is the council should establish planning standards. Typically, each director in an organization, each department manager has received different training or has a different idea about what should exist within a strategic plan. And so having basic standards really is invaluable. So you can look from one plan to the other and see a similar framework, a similar approach. This was developed by the Pasuyaki tribe a number of years ago. And the council said, when we do these rollout sessions with each department, we want their plans, the work product of those plans to have mission, vision, values, have some kind of data from the stakeholders, from the community as a basis of their plans, have goals and strategic initiatives aligned with council priorities. Obviously, that's a big one. And for those initiatives and goals, have detailed initiative, project, and grant plans for those priorities. They also want to see what's the evidence, what's the impact of the work and the investment that's being made. And I thought they did a great job in really looking at internal capacity building, so ensuring professional development plans are in place, And there are specific improvement plans around the areas of customer experience, developing partnerships, improving collaboration, overcoming silos, quality and process improvement, and ultimately sustainability. So that the plan is a document that represents the thinking of the leadership at the department levels, and the council can review this and ensure that those standards that were established have been met through the planning that's been done. So so we've introduced what we call a tribal operating system, and so it goes beyond just a tribal plan. It's making sure all the right pieces are in place to actually implement or execute that plan. So traditional planning, you have community, some kind of community assessment, and maybe a SWOT analysis, priorities established in the planning documents. But to move into the implementation phase of this whole thing, it requires some team development, ensuring the team is working and functioning as a high level together, where they can take directives, they can take goals, and actually execute those things. That planning standards are developed and clarified. That each department understands what these are as part of the rollout. That there's strategy and project tracking, and we'll reference that in a second as well. That they've cascaded the plans to the individuals responsible for implementing them, that there's a sense of organizational alignment, that we've asked questions about, do we have the internal capacity to actually make these things happen, that there's accountability around quarterly or monthly plan reviews to show progress on their scoreboard and their projects, and then project and productivity training, again, building capacity internally so that everyone has the skills to accomplish what they need to accomplish. So the old way of doing this, we call the old paradigm, is kind of plan on the shelf. It's a big document, maybe well written, well thought out, but it's not visible and it's not adaptive to all the opportunities that are coming, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter. So the new paradigm is an online strategy management system, one platform where all of your strategies, goals, projects, grants, are exist, and that everyone has access to it. So it's a high degree of transparency. This is the action strategy system. We've been, for the past 20 years, we've been working with tribal leaders to develop better tools to help them track their most important priorities. This is a sample plan from an actual organization, and they had identified some key high-level, what they call themes, around things like organizational excellence and 2.0, the economy, and so forth. And so the projects that they want to be able to delegate would be things like developing a tribal project management office, or implement career and professional development standards across departments and entities. And then they assign individuals responsible for that, identify resources, timelines, and then there are different status indicators that show that is making progress. So each time you look at this, it should increase progress towards the end goal. And the way this is cascaded is through assigning ownership. So if I'm in administration, when I log in, I see those things are assigned to me, and I can involve others in developing work teams and project teams to ensure it gets implemented. So the idea is that you have a high degree of transparency, but everyone has an opportunity to focus on what their priorities would be at a given time. The tribal operating system really is a methodology that includes all the key elements that need to go into planning. And so we utilize this with both council members and also with departments to ensure that they've gone through this effective planning process and come out the end with really a robust implementation plan and the capacity to implement. So there's a strategic thinking phase, strategic planning, aligning the organization, and execution. And with the execution, some of the key things you see: quarterly plan reviews, project management, discipline, and ultimately a plan tracking system. In terms of potential next steps, again, this is of interest to you, some things we can provide, first is a sample assessment to evaluate internally where you are relative to this comprehensive tribal operating system and which areas you need to work on to continue to improve. Also, 30-day free demo of the action strategy system. And then we begin doing these on-site one-day strategic project management workshops. These are one-day intensive sessions on strategy best practices and taking one of your key projects and really going through a thorough process of initiating, designing, managing implementation, and ultimately assessing that project effectiveness. And we're doing this currently at a discounted rate. We really want people to see some of these best practices and this innovative approach to strategy development, team development, and ultimately improved strategy execution. If you have any questions about this or would like to participate in any of these elements of the free offer, please respond to the email and contact me. We'd love to support the work that you do.